In this video, we're going through the 11.1 to 11.3 review. The first one asks us to identify the graph of the function. This is an exponential growth function that has an asymptote at +2. That +2 is moving the graph up 2. So just remember, exponential growth looks like it starts close to the asymptote and then curves up and away. And then this one needs to be moved up too. So looking through these options, the one that looks like my picture but moved up 2 would be that one. Our next question, there's a negative in front and it's a -2. So this thing needs to move down 2. It also needs to have been flipped over the x-axis. So it needs to start here and move down. So it needs to start at the asymptote and then extend down and to the right. So of these graphs, that one matches that description. Next, we are using some formulas. It says 3,500 is invested in a long-term trust fund with an interest rate of 11%. So our principal, our starting amount is 3,500. Our interest rate is 11% as a decimal, that's 0.11. It says it's compounded continuously, which means we are going to use the PERT formula, the formula that has E in it. When you see continuously, you're going to use the formula with E. And it says that our time is going to be 25 years. So 3,500 times E raised to the 0.11 times 25. To type that into our calculator, 3,500, E is above your ln button. So find your ln button and the E is the function right above that. So second ln button, 0.11 times 25. If you're using a scientific calculator, when you do E raised to the whatever, it will put parentheses. You just make sure you need to close those parentheses after the 25. And our answer is 54749.21. So $54,749.21. Okay, complete the table. So there's 3 pieces here. It shows us that our principal is 2,500. Our rate is 4.25%, which is 0.0425. Make sure you have your rate correct on that one. Our time is 10 years. And then in each of these, it's asking you to use a different n value. It does not say continuously. We're going to use that first formula. So the principal amount times 1 plus our rate divided by n raised to the n times t. N is the number of times it's compounded. So in that first part of the table, I'll call that A, our n is going to be 1. It's compounded annually. So we have 2,500, 1 plus 0.0425 divided by 1, raised to the 1 times 10. Plug that into your calculator. Basically plug it in exactly as you read it. So 2,500 parentheses 1 plus your decimal divided by 1, close your parentheses, raised to the. I would strongly recommend that you put parentheses around your exponent as well. Now I know you can do 1 times 10 in your head, but if the numbers are bigger, put parentheses around your exponent. This one is 3,790, and we need to round correctly because we have to enter the answer here. So it says 0.536. We need to round that up to 54 cents. So the dollar sign is already there for you, but you will need to type in 3790.54. No commas. In fact, I might even put a little note in there. No commas. Do not use commas in your answer. Next, we want to do quarterly. For quarterly, n is 4. So 2,500, everything is the same except for that n value. Divided by 4, raised to the 4 times 10. So plug this in, 2,500, parentheses, 1 plus 0.0425 divided by 4, close our parentheses, raised to the parentheses 4 times 10, close my parentheses. I get $3,815.41. Notice there's a 2 that comes after, so we leave it at 41 cents. So that one is $3,815.41. Next, monthly. Then N is 12. So 2,500, 1 plus 0.0425 divided by 12, raised to the 12 times 10. And again, I would strongly recommend you put parentheses around that. Once you plug that in, notice that it's 0.105. That 5 bumps it up to 11 cents instead of 10 cents. So when we enter it in, our answer is 3821.11. In this problem, first we need to find f of g of x. And I used colors here to help us, and if you have colors that you can use when you're doing these problems, that is very helpful. So g is the inside. We're taking the entire g function and plugging it into that f function. So the f function is something plus 2. The something is 3x minus 8. So then we have 3x minus 8 plus 2. Combine our like terms. We have 3x minus 6. When you enter that in here, don't do any spaces or anything funky. 3x minus 6. This is not a math field, it's a text field. So it is not going to count equivalent answers correct. It is only going to count 3x minus 6 correct with no spaces, nothing funky, no plus and negative. So make sure you type that 3x minus 6 exactly like that. The next one, part B, wants us to find g of f of x. So this time the f function is going to be plugged into the x of the g function. So the g function is 3 times something minus 8. The stuff that we're plugging into that function is the entire f function. So we distribute, and we have 3x plus 6 minus 8. Combine our like terms, we have 3x minus 2. So in this one, 3x minus 2. For part C, you are going to use what we got in part A, f of g of negative 1. You're going to take this answer and plug negative 1 into it. So 3 times negative 1 minus 6, that's negative 3 minus 6, which is negative 9. And again, this is not a math field, so just type in the minus sign and the 9. It's looking for that specific answer. For g of f of 2, we have g of f of, that's this one. We need to plug 2 into that function. So 3 times 2 minus 2, that would be 4. This example does have a math entry area. That's because we have some squares that we have to deal with in here. So we're doing f of g of x. The f function is x squared plus 5. We need to take this entire g function and put it in place of the x in the f function. So it's like the f in the f function, it's like the x is leaving, but it's still something squared plus 5. You're sticking that x minus 4 in place of that x. So the x from the f function leaves, the x minus 4 takes its place. Now, what does x minus 4 squared mean? It means x minus 4 times itself. This is the biggest missed problem on this test. X minus 4 times x minus 4, if you double distribute, you've got x squared minus 4x plus 16, and then we have the plus 5 afterward. Combine your like terms. You've got x squared minus 8x and 16 plus 5, would be plus 21. In this math field, you want to type it in so that it looks exactly like it does on your paper. So first of all, you really need to be showing your work on paper so that you have something to look at. But x, to raise it to an exponent, use this feature, so x squared. You do need to then click the right arrow on your keyboard or the right arrow here to get out of the exponent. If you don't, the rest of your answer will look like this. Do you see how all of that is in the exponent, how that kind of looks funky? That is not correct. Make sure you hit the right arrow to get out of your exponent before you type in the minus 8x and the plus 21. And you can use your keyboard or you can use these features here, whichever you are most comfortable with. Next, we are going to find, I believe, g of f of x. So g of f of x. This time we're going to take this entire f function and put it into the x of the g function. So our g function is something minus 4. The f function is x squared plus 5. This one's a little bit nicer because there's no double distribution foiling to deal with. We've got x squared plus 5 minus 4. That would be x squared plus 1. So in here we would type in x squared, get out of your exponent, plus 1. Now just like before, once you have those two functions, you can use those two functions to get the next part of your answer. So in the first one, they want f of g of 1. You're taking the f of g of x function and plugging 1 into it. So 1 squared minus 8 times 1 plus 21. Plug that into your calculator. You should get 14 as your answer. Next, they want g of f of 3. We have the g of f of function. That's here. That's the x squared plus 1. We need to plug 3 into that. 3 squared plus 1. 3 squared is 9. 9 plus 1 is 10. So our answer there is 10. Next, we start finding the inverses. And notice this question has 3 parts. So the previous question, if I go back to the previous question, I tried to note at the top of the questions when there are multiple parts. But if you see that green part A box, that means that there's more below. So I know on your smaller screens, sometimes it's harder to see those multiple parts. If you see that green part A box, make sure you take the time to scroll down and see the rest of it. Okay, so our original equation is f of x equals 2x minus 4. We need to find the inverse. So step 1 is f of x is the same as y equals. To find an inverse, you take y and switch it with x. X switches with y. Then we need to get y by itself. So we're going to add 4 on both sides and then divide by 2. X plus 4 over 2 is our function. That f negative 1 of x is just the notation. So to enter this correctly, I would do your fraction button first, and then type in your x plus 4 on the top and the 2 on the bottom. Next, find the inverse of f of x equals x cubed plus 9. Y equals x cubed plus 9. Switch your x and your y. Now we need to get y by itself. So subtract 9 on both sides, and then you're going to cube root both sides. So y equals the cube root of x minus 9. In here, the cube root would be this nth root symbol. You type in the 3 to make it a cube root, and then get your x minus 9. The next video will pick up with part C, and then the rest of the questions on this test.